I thought I'd give you a quick update on the Peashooter. As you can see, we've come quite a long way. I'll put some stills up and hopefully they're running now to show you what's been going on in the cockpit and with the general build up of the kit to get it to this point. The cockpit is very well detailed. It's Bren gun, as I said in the first update video. I've used quite a lot of it. I'll show you here in a minute what I haven't used, and it's been a very nice kit coming together. The etched metal has been no problem. It's made up for quite a detailed cockpit, and certainly an improvement on the kit parts. Obviously there's quite a lot of detail that you've got to file down from the inside of the plastic parts to make the etched metal bits fit, and there are a few fit issues because of adding etched metal, which you've got to expect with the amount that's going into this and with the size of the plane as well. But all in all, I think it's very good. There's a huge amount of detail, some of which you're really not going to see. The rudder pedals are almost a work of art in themselves. There are a few bits that came on the fret which I have had problems with, which I'll go into. I didn't use the etched metal seat because I think the resin seat was much better for a start, so I swapped that out. Instead of using the metal, it would have been the metal belts and the metal framework for the seat. So I've gone ahead and used everything on the etch fret, so that I like to do that generally with the builds. I try and get all the etch work out of the way if possible, and then it's moving on to the plastic, then it speeds the build up. So I've done that, and I did try and make up the windscreen, which I don't know if you can see here. I'll just see if I can zoom in, but it didn't bend very well. There's no score line, so it's a nice idea, but the lines aren't scored, and I did try and score the metal myself and bend it, but it didn't really work too well, so I've gone for the kit part instead, so I'll just have to paint the frames, which is no problem. I think it might have been a bit fiddly to do it with the etched metal way anyway, so I don't mind that. So that's the one problem I had. The rest of it is pretty straightforward. There was another issue with the wheels that come with Pavla, which come with the Pavla set. Looking at reference material, I mean, if you were to use these, it would be like it's got a couple of flats. There's hardly any bulge to the tyres, let alone it being this exaggerated, so I didn't use the resin wheels. I have used the kit parts and added these spokes that come on the etch fret, which is very nice, and tail wheel, so it's small stuff. Done the engine. That gets a bit of an upgrade with the resin cover here, and also an etched metal part for the wiring, and I picked off the wiring that came with the kit, and I picked off the wiring that was on the resin part. It's not formed that well. There's a bit of flash or whatever that's called for resin, and because it's so small it's quite difficult to get off, so I didn't worry too much, and I've primed it now so I can see what's going on. It looks very nice. It's going to be quite a feature part to the plane, so it needs to look the part. It's going to be right on the front, so that's a nice bit. We've got the propeller cleaned up just to make sure that fits as well, and that's pretty much where we are. As you can see, there's a few bits left over on the etch fret which I won't be using, and can be used if I never do another Peashooter. I can use all these bits. I have gone ahead and done the door as well, and that got a bit of framing in the form of an etched metal part put to the front, so that's the framework, and a little latch part. There's also another bit on here for the outside of the door. In fact, I think you're actually not meant to use the kit part, but I felt like you'd see the thickness of the fuselage, so whether or not that's to scale or not, well, I'm guessing not, but I at least want the door to make up that difference. So I may file it down on the plastic bit and then use the etched metal bit for the outside to give it a bit more detail. I'm undecided on that. I'll see how it looks, and that's it. So should progress quite nicely with the build from now on. got a bit of seam work that I'm doing now, which I'm sure will be no problem. It's quite straightforward stuff. Just put a bit of Mr. Surfacer 500 along the seam. I had a bit of problem here with the rear wall to the cockpit joining up with the fuselage, but I don't think that's an issue, so I'm going to respray that with the chromate yellow. Looking online, I have gone for chromate yellow, but I couldn't see any reason. Well, I couldn't find any references for the Peashooter to have the chromate yellow paint on the interior. I mean, I'm guessing 1930s American aircraft, that's what it would have been, so that's what I've gone for. Whether or not that's the case, I'm not too worried. This one did, so there we go. That's what I'll stick with. And that's what's left with the sprue, so only a few bits to go on really. Got the rear stabilisers, the wheel spats. It might have a little bit of an issue with the join, and also the cowling. Oh, I don't know what that is. We'll call it the cowling for the engine. That's in 2 halves, so that'll need a bit of filler. But after that, I mean, it's really straightforward stuff, and we should be into paint. So that's the second update. Hopefully by the next time we're into primer and maybe even paint.